This is John Sinos for Drama Alert, and this just in. This morning, Obi-Wan Plays announced that he will be purchasing the rights to the E3 Expo, and has stated that he will officially be reopening the Expo tonight at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California, to compete against Summer Games Fest and Summer Games. However, because of all the major companies deciding to back out of E3, he has said on his second YouTube channel that he'll be allowing literally anyone to host a press conference at the event. I'm sure that'll go well. In other news, James Charles has successfully...
Well, I know what I'm doing tonight. I like Sonic the Hedgehog 4.
Expo, do you realize what you just said is an invalid opinion?
Sonic 4 is poorly made, and that's a common fact.
Look, I knew this was gonna happen, so I brought my Dreamcast just to be safe.
Why did you bring your Dreamcast?
So I could play the CD I burnt my Sonic 4 opinions on.
Then you should have bought a CD player.
Yeah, but the Dreamcast has this cool spinning thing when you play a CD.
Fair point. Start it up.
The year is 2009. The latest HD Sonic game release is Sonic Ultimate Genesis Collection, and fans are realizing that we're fricked as a society. But in September of that year, Sega revealed their next project that broke the internet. Project Needle Mouse. A return to the classic formula, developed by Dents, the ones behind the Russian Advance games. This was going to be a smash hit. Then February 2010 struck. Project Needle Mouse was no more, and was officially known as Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Episode 1. Yeah, as much as I like Sonic 4, I have no idea why they would split this into multiple parts. If you do that, there's a chance the game might not be completed due to the lack of sales of the previous episodes. This isn't Star Wars, dang it, this is Sonic the Hedgehog! But finally, on October 7th, 2010, the first part of Sonic the Hedgehog 4 was released to the public. Now, I didn't own this game until 2012 because I wasn't a Sonic fan when it released, nor did I have the proper devices to play it on. But when I played it, I genuinely had a great time. But that was 8 years ago. Does it hold up in 2020? I don't know! The game begins in Splash Hill Zone. It's basically Green Hill again, but with vines. When you get to Act 3, you realize the sun is setting and you say, Sega, slow down! This much cockiness can't be healthy for you. Then we get to the boss fight, and despite all the music sounds like Eggman's clowning like a white knight on Twitter.com, I love how it's a remix of the unused boss music from Sonic 3D Blast. Now, the boss itself was just the one from Sonic 1. I don't remember my younger self dying at all in this fight. Casino Street Zone, basically Casino Night again, but with playing cards. At this point, you're probably realizing that all the stages in this game are rehashes of older stages. But that kind of fits for the classic series.
Okay, tell me right now why we shouldn't come up on that stage and murder you on the spot.
Because I haven't explained my point.
You're really pushing me to my limit here.
You see, in the classic games, some of the stages are literally rehashes of older stages. Emerald Hill, Palm Tree Panic, Green Grove, all rehashes of Green Hill with at least one new twist. The third act of Casino Street always gave me PTSD. I couldn't get past this point for years because of my idiot brain and these stupid cannons. Look at them in their stupid baby blue. Also, the developers were stupid and forgot to remove this texture in the game, and now we know that the game was originally going to be named Sonic the Trendhog. Boss fight literally just one from Sonic 2, moving on. Lost Labyrinth Zone. Yeah, I don't have an excuse for this one. It's just Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1, except for this ball mechanic. Ooh, the wonders of modern technology. Although I do like this boss fight. It starts with the Sonic 1 boss and then becomes its own thing entirely. It's great. Mad Gear Zone. It's like Scrap Brain and Metropolis, but with gears. Act 3 is a nod to Hydra City Act 2 with the wall that crushes you on the spot. Wait a minute, didn't Lost Labyrinth Zone have that too? Sonic Team, you sly dogs. The boss fight is kind of like the one from Lost Labyrinth, where they make you think it's the boss fight from Sonic 2, then it becomes an auto-scroller with bouncing balls you have to avoid. After you finish these zones, it's time for the grand finale. Egg Station Zone. What does the egg stand for? I don't know. This zone is pretty much a boss rush, that is, until you get to the final boss fight. It's just a Death Egg robot, but it goes insane at the end. Dang it, I really wanted more than that. The music in this game, though, goodness gracious. I know some people say that Jun Senoi murdered his local cats and ducks to make this soundtrack, but if he did, these must be some musically talented cats and ducks. I'm really excited for Now That's What I Call Sonic 4 to be released at Stephen Nobben's E3 press conference tonight.
Steven isn't having a booth at E3 this year.
Son of a gun! The gameplay itself is fine in this episode. Sonic's moveset from the classic games is back, except for the Insta Shield from Sonic 3 and the peel-off from Sonic CD. Instead, we get the homing attack that makes Bubbles look like absolute jokes. But most of the time, if you don't want to use the homing attack, you don't have to, but for the love of all that is good, do not stop in the middle of a loop. Sonic will become Peter Parker in mere seconds. Sonic's walking speed is reduced and it takes longer for him to get to top speed. Thankfully, unlike the Rush titles, which are also developed by Dimps, the bottomless pits are heavily downgraded, but believe me, they're still here. And worst of all, They made it to where the roll doesn't properly work on slopes. How am I supposed to do stupid stuff like in Spring Yard now? Thankfully, all of this and more were fixed in the next episode, Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 2, the final episode in the saga. Yeah, unfortunately, Episode 2 didn't do well enough for Sega to make a proper finale to the saga.
Nani?
The episode was released in 2012 for all the same platforms as the first one, except for the Wii for some reason. Back in 2014, this physically hurt me when I figured that out. Episode 2 is the first and only episode in the saga to introduce a playable character that isn't Sonic, Miles Tails Prower. Should have been in the first one. And with the new inclusion comes a co-op mode that is the only way you can play as him normally. That was a stupid decision. The co-op mode is also online, which is awesome. Nobody's playing it. The episode starts with Sonic and Tails landing the tornado on the first zone of the game, Sylvania Castle Zone. This is the first zone in Sonic 4 to not scream another level in the franchise. Yeah, it takes inspirations from Aquatic Ruin, Hydro City, and other water levels from Sonic's past, but at first glance you probably would consider this a completely unique level. When you get to certain parts in the act, you come across this game's main mechanic, the tag team move. Depending on your status in the game, you can do a certain move that can only be done with both Sonic and Tails. When you're above ground level, Tails carries Sonic in the air for a certain amount of time. In the water, the move is similar to if you're in the air, but you can move around and you can do it as long as you like. I would comment on the third one, but I don't want Susan to terminate my channel. When you get to the boss fight, at first it seems like you're gonna recap the Aquatic Ruins boss, but before you can even start the boss, this thing comes up from the ground and tries to murder you. White Park Zone, another unique level that doesn't really scream anything at first glance. But you can't deny that Act 2's music sounds like Twinkle Park. Also, Act 3 gives me PTSD similar to Casino Street Zone from Episode 1 because I can never get past it for some odd reason. Then we get to the boss, and it's revealed to be Metal Sonic. Bam. Look at that. Now there was a prologue to Episode 2 that you can unlock if you have both Episode 1 and 2 on the same console called Episode Metal. But that's just Episode 1 again, so why bother? Oil Desert Zone. This is the first level in the game to actually scream another zone. In this case, Oil Ocean Zone from Sonic 2. But I do like the sandstorm gimmick they have going on. This zone is mostly known for having Donald Duck give his last breath singing Act 2. And these dash panels, look at these. Goodness gracious. But unlike every other zone that was based off a previous zone, this boss fight doesn't play around and it gets right to the point. A giant garbage robot. Cool. Sky Fortress Zone. Wait, Sky Chase, Pink Fortress. Hey, wait a minute! Yet another rehash zone, but it has the best design level in Sonic 4. Sky Fortress Zone, Act 3. I know, crazy. But when I play Sonic 4, I always see myself going back to this stage. I don't like the boss though. The boss is dumb. And finally, Death Egg Mark II. Throughout the game, Eggman has been building a shell around Little Planet from Sonic CD, taking all of its life energy and using it to power the shell. The stage has most of its gimmicks ripped from Sonic 3's Death Egg, but now it's inside. Glad to know Eggman was prepared for the coronavirus. Now this zone is extra special because it has not one, not two, but 3 bosses to go with it. The first one is basically the Mad Gear boss from Episode 1, but now with Metal Sonic instead of bouncing balls. Speaking of Metal Sonic, the second boss is basically just racing against him, running into a wall and all. And now, the final boss is just a heart. That's it. You beat up a heart. It's fun. The final cutscene is Sonic and Tails jumping into some escape pods, and the game ends. That's it. Nothing. No to be continued screen? Nothing. It's even weirder because when you get all the Chaos Emeralds in Episode 1, Metal Sonic shows up and to be continued is displayed at the bottom of the screen. However, a few months before the release of Episode 2, Sega did an oopsie and accidentally unlocked the game for people who pre-ordered it. This allowed people to play a near final version of the game mere months before release, and in the files of this version of the game, the text "to be continued" can still be found, along with an audio file that can be easily found on YouTube. So why did they remove it in the final version?
Because they knew the game sucked?
Zip it. The music is pretty much the same as the first episode, but let's be real here. Metal Sonic's theme is the best song in the game. You can't deny that. The gameplay has been completely overhauled from Episode 1. Sonic doesn't feel like Spider-Man when he's on loops, his walking speed has been increased, his roll doesn't stop in the middle of a slope, and his animations overall look better. Look at this beautiful comparison. And that was the Sonic 4 saga. It's really a shame that it was never finished, but I would like a spiritual successor to this in some form, maybe a spin-off, or a Sonic 5 even.
So what I got from this is, you like Episode 2 because it's a decent game, and Episode 1 because of nostalgia.
What? Of course not.
That's what it sounds like. You know what we gotta do now.
I'm already on it.
Wait, I still haven't talked about the mobile versions.
Mobile versions.
Ah yes, the mobile versions. These versions of the game are actually kind of different from their console counterparts, most notably Episode 1. Episode 2 has some differences, but I'll get to that later. Episode 1 has a completely different art style from the console versions. Instead of it having a cel-shaded type look, it went for a more low poly design that reminds me more of Sonic Rush than anything. In a later update, the models were upgraded to make the platforms look more like PNGs than ever. The UI was completely different than the mobile version, but thankfully in the same update the models were changed. They changed the UI to look more like the console version. Oh, and it runs at 30 frames per second compared to 60, but who cares about that? Obi-Wan plays? Oh. Episode 1 Mobile comes with 2 entirely new acts made specifically for this version of the game. The first one is Casino Street Act 2, 100,000 point challenge. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, didn't the console versions already have a second act for Casino Street that involved cards? And you'd be right. That zone doesn't exist in this version of the game. The name says it all, you have to earn 100,000 points through the slot machines to finish the zone. I would say this is a chore, but most of the things you do in the casino stages is rack up points anyway, but even so, this is still a chore. But apparently the beta version of the WiiWare port has the original mobile UI, better cell shading, and 100,000 points challenge included. I gotta say though, if I played the console versions of Sonic 4 and this level just played after a random level, probably would have screamed. The second exclusive level is Strange Minecart. This stage replaces the console version of Lost Labyrinth Zone Act 2 with the same music, surprisingly. In this level you have to tilt your phone to move the cart. Let me just say, I've seen horror movies about the Sonic 4 beta versions, and they had to use the analog stick to tilt the cart. I'm very happy we live in this timeline. No, Episode 2 doesn't have as many changes as Episode 1, but they're still worth going over. First off, this is the only way you can play any form of Sonic 4 for completely free. Just like its predecessor, Episode 2 on mobile runs at 30 frames compared to 60 on the console versions. Now, it doesn't have its own stages, but Special Stage 7's final phase requires less rings. You can play co-op mode locally with someone who has a different device. Episode Metal is unlocked without needing Episode 1. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I think we need to cancel this guy already.
Already sent the tweet.
They're replaced by conference with the Stephen Novin conference.